Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have double dose of surprises for you today. I have Sam Hodge as my guest. He is the cinematographer for Reunion from Hell 1 and the upcoming Reunion from Hell 2, and Johnna Hodge, and she played Jen in Reunion from Hell 1 and will be returning for Reunion from Hell 2. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm so glad to have you both on. Second time that you guys are joining me, and the first time we really discussed the Hagwitch, and now we're gonna really dive into Reunion from Hell 1 and talk about the upcoming Reunion from Hell 2. So exciting.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Exciting.
yeah, so Sam, I guess I'll ask you the first question. So how did you get your start into becoming like a filmmaker and a cinematographer, to give yourself a little background of yourself?
It's very interesting. My starting film actually began as a composer,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of got into doing film by saying, "Oh, I can do the editing on the sound and everything else, so why don't I just throw a camera in a mix?" And I started doing movie reviews with my friend Evan on YouTube with a thing called the Horror Appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
It was, several hundred episodes, and we enjoyed doing that. And
Right.
then when my friend bought a old house and began making it into a haunted attraction, he wanted me to do a trailer for that, and I made a full-length feature film after I saw it. Basically, got a ragtag group of people together,
Right.
and we got, with our first time around, we got worldwide distribution and everything, and that's called 12 Full Manor. So
That's awesome.
with that, I basically accepted all the our Puggles is coughing just a little bit. But with that, I got just a taste for pulling people like a donkey with a plow behind it. I mean, kind of how you have to do it when you're in the indie world and you don't have any money. You basically just kind of you get hit in the face over and over again, and you just have to like it. But you have to do the editing, the composing, the shooting, everything, the promoting. You have to be very creative, and that was it was not enough for me to just do one. So I started doing a series of short films to kind of hone different skills, like conversations and effects and different camera stuff. And I wanted to really try to work on things and hone my skills, and we've done several things since.
Nice. So Johnna, what about you as an actress? Like, how did you get your start? Give us a little background about yourself.
Well, to start acting, really, when me and Sammy started talking, he wanted to cast me in a movie that he, at the time, Nocturnus was getting started, but that got postponed. But he saw me, and he kind of knew a couple of my friends that I went to school with. And I was actually going to start working at the haunt where he was at before we started talking, and he asked me if I wanted to be cast in a movie that he had. And I was like, oh, I always wanted to do that and all this and that. And he thought I'd be perfect for a vampire girl when he saw how I looked. And so that ended up not happening, but we just started like talking and bonding and everything. And next thing I know, we was together and we was working together on the movies. And then I ended up being in the movies because he knew I could act. And that's pretty much how I started. And just, nice. I knew I could do it and always wanted to do it. And
it's really a creative art field. I absolutely like, just not just acting, but even behind the camera where you're doing the cinematography, doing the boom mic, and
hang on, sorry.
Not a problem. And like doing all the behind the scenes stuff. Like, a lot of people don't realize how much of a team environment making a film is. Like, the people that are in front of you on the camera, they might be on the camera and you might be seeing them make the movie come to life, but there's the whole behind the camera aspect of things that is really, really important. It really is.
Well, when you make your first movie, you realize, man, I could never really see this movie as a spectator. Like, I'll never see it the same way other people do. I'll always see 5 people standing underneath this guy's crotch, doing strobe lights and fog and sparks and blood. Like, I'll never see just the actor. I'll always see everything, the big picture.
Yep, absolutely.
and she notices that too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
she's like, oh, you're watching a $100 million movie, and she'll be like, oh, there's lots of mistakes. There's still there's gaffer tape on the floor there. Like,
yeah, it's like you start noticing that stuff that you wouldn't have ever thought about before when you're actually helping make it and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
It really is. It really is. And I like finding those things, like seeing those little mistakes, because it's like, I know how that was done. I know why that was done.
Yeah, and it's like you respect it more than you hate it, because you're like, well, that stuff happens.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So for those that are unaware of what Reunion from Hell the first one was about, can you guys give us a little bit of a synopsis about that movie before we dive right into Reunion from Hell 2?
Well, the film Reunion from Hell centers around mostly a character named Riley Connor. He's left town because he felt responsible for something really kind of tragic that happened in his family. With his dad. And so he left town for a long time and ends up coming back to town because a friend of his gets murdered brutally. And when Riley Connor comes back to town, his friends get kind of picked off, one by one. And Riley's even a suspect at some point, and you have police involved and everything else. And you have a lot of different influences in this movie. I know Scream gets thrown around a lot, but there's a lot of 80s influence in this. There's a lot of even slasher stuff. There's a lot of stylistic influence in them. But the Scream thing is there, but the script was more Scream than the actual film, because the actual film, once it came together, once you added the style of everything, it became really kind of its own thing. And that's a good thing, because it got a chance to really kind of breathe and be its own character.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Reunion from Hell 2 obviously will be filming next month. So what is the sequel about? Can you tell us without telling too much, I guess?
Well, I saw a very early draft. I haven't seen any other drafts, but I do know that essentially
there's some crazy stuff going to happen with this one.
It's not over.
Yeah.
There's still some grieving happening, and there are some things about the ending of the first Reunion from Hell that leave some questions. Like, wait, wasn't there more going on over here? Won't say what, especially since you haven't seen the first movie.
I haven't yet.
What happened after this? Kind of, you still kind of wondered what happened after this and that, but it all comes together with this one.
Yeah.
So it kind of pieces up things that you didn't find out from the first one a little bit in the second one.
But Riley does go to a cabin to spend Christmas with his family. Riley is a little bit more adjusted now, a little tougher, and I guess values the chances to spend time with family and friends more so than before, and realizes you shouldn't leave them behind, no matter the tragedy in your life, because those friends and family can be good for you in your life and you need them. But death happens again, and Reunion from Hell 2, I guess the theme is really nobody should be safe. That's how I feel about it, and I think that's where the movie's going. And it's much more violent.
It'd be a lot more violence and a lot more deaths and a lot more kind of creepy aspects of it, even more than the first one. I think it'll be more scary and more creepy for people when they watch it.
And
really make them jump a little bit more. And
how I feel about it is, let's not talk about it. Let's kill them.
Yeah. Let's not talk about. Let's just have deaths.
Show don't tell, right?
And then have lots of deaths.
Nice. And I know when Hayden told me about a scene, and you watched the Jeremiah Lee interview, and she told me about a specific scene. I won't get into details for obvious reasons regarding my character. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? And she said, we're not playing around this time. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And Jeremiah said he read like the earlier draft of the script, and he said it was like more intense than the first one to begin with. I said, can you imagine adding all this extra added cushion and extra, all these other deaths and all these other plots? And oh my gosh, I can only imagine how intense like it really is going to be. Like, usually you don't think of the sequel being better than the original, but I didn't see the original, but I can only imagine from what Hayden is telling me and what everybody else that did see the earlier drafts is telling me. This is going to be close, if not going to exceed the original.
It'll be better.
It'll be so much better. And then there's so many more stars, and then there's just so much more like craziness with this one. Yep. I think it'll make everybody so happy.
I think it's ironic that you mentioned sequels sometimes being better. And look, I'm a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I love the original Nightmare on Elm Street, but
we love the second one.
Nightmare 2 was really, really special to me as a kid. And I tell you, working with Mark Patton is going to be dreamlike for me, not to be a pun or anything, but I'm very excited to work with Mark Patton. And I won't shit myself on that. I'll do the right thing.
that's how like a lot of us are gonna be like on set, because these aren't like like B-level actors, so to speak. Like these are slasher movie icons from like one of the biggest franchises, horror franchises out there.
Well, Lisa and Danny were part of the biggest selling Nightmare on Elm Street. Yep. Freddy 4 grossed way more than horror movies were doing at the time, and it was big. It was $56 million in the theaters.
Yeah,
something like that. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, that's a lot of money.
It really is, and to do a little hype for them, this is going to be the first movie that Lisa and Danny have been in together since Nightmare 5. So that's going to be big. That's going to be big. Cool. Yes, I completely agree. And we know that the Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign has roughly 9 days left, I would say, give or take. So people still have a chance to donate and to help, get some perks and, help fund this movie. So I guess, why should everyone donate? Why do you think everyone should donate, and what perks would they be able to get for doing so?
It's very exciting.
If you don't believe the movie is going to be a little bit creepier, if you haven't seen this is one of the masks that's going to be worn by the killer. It is intensely creepy when it's lit. When you get cinematic lighting on this, it's very terrifying and disturbing. This is something that you can purchase. There's one left. We are going to be using 4 of these on screen. We gave ourselves the opportunity because tears and things happen with latex.
Yeah.
These are crafted by Travis Robinson. He's a really excellent effects artist and practical prop maker that we know and love, and we get to work with all the time on our stuff. That's one of the things you can get as far as the campaign goes. And I'll go ahead and tell you where that money goes. Half of the $400 goes to the guy that made it, which that's only fair. And then half them, and he's going to be working on the film. Yeah. And then half the money goes to the rest of the film to make that. Yeah. I think that's a pretty fair price. So Absolutely. For $400, you get something that's screen used. This is going to be in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a prop, and it's a cool prop, and everybody might want to get in on that. There's one left, so they might want to grab that. It'll be really cool having that. Plus, it's scary.
It really is.
3 are being sold, and 1 is going to be stored for safety.
And then all the other perks are really cool that people need to like double check and make sure they don't want a few of them there.
Well, you can get videos. Right, Mark Patton doing a video shout out.
That's really cool.
There's side you can come and have dinner with the cast and crew.
Mm-hmm.
You can be present at the premiere and get pictures on the red carpet with the cast, and it's pretty cool. And even though we don't know exactly where the premiere is going to be, chances are there's going to be one near you, and there's going to be more than one. I mean, the goal is to have regions where you go and you display the movie at. We were fortunate enough to do that with the first reunion. So another reason to donate to this project and to believe in it is we did it once with Reunion from Hell. We were honest about it. It happened. Obviously, there are always quirks and things that happen with campaigns, and the way it actually turns out, we all know that happens when you get to actually making a movie. But, we know what we're doing, and it's going to be made.
Yeah.
So, what it says on there is true.
Yeah. And not only that, but not only did you get the first Reunion from Hell made, but it also got distribution by Bayview Entertainment. So that's also saying something.
Well, I got to say something about that one. I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't know this yet.
Have you talked to Hayden about that?
I haven't.
Okay, so it's actually being self-distributed right now, and it's still going to be on digital distribution with streaming and stuff. But as far as Bayview goes, that deal ended up not being so honest and fortuitous. So we agreed to go our separate ways with that.
Okay.
If this is a bombshell nobody's prepared to hear, I'm sorry, but
but this is better though. It's so much better because
but
Baby
it really is.
didn't get out that good, and this is going to go out good.
Yeah. Sometimes you get more money doing self-distribution as well, because you get to control where it goes. You get to control what you make, what your price is, and
you can use some of that movie for your sequels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's kind of what Indiegogo is as well. Indiegogo is its own funding for you. You get now with Reunion from Hell 1, you can also distribute that, through that as its own perk, where people can buy it through that, and you can make your DVDs. You don't have to give up a percentage and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and with Bayview, they had a little bit different market than we were really trying to target.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of overseas stuff. It was worldwide and everything else, but
workout videos and stuff like that, and we were like, everybody's like, no.
Well, and we heard kind of what happened with that school movie Teacher Shortage. We heard that some of that distribution ended up putting the movie on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
For a while. And I was like, no, Hayden, let's not.
Right. Yeah. Because then you can't make any money that way.
Well, we spent money on the movie, and we worked too hard on the movie, and people deserve for their performance to be out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Be made for the sequel. Put some money into the sequel.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people, when I do my interviews, I always say this, that filmmaking is not cheap. That's why indie films have to go through Indiegogo crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah.
And that's why, they have the money that they make from the premiere, or that that money's not going in their pocket. That's going towards future projects like Reunion from Hell 2.
Well, and just airfare right now is insane. During COVID 2020, you could get plane tickets dirt cheap. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. But right now they are insane. And right now you also have that fear, what is it American Airlines that cancels flights right and left right now?
Yeah, I think it's American Airlines.
They were canceling something like 1,000 a day for a while. And that's scary when you've got an actor that you're paying $1,000 a day to be there on set, and all of a sudden they're canceled and you can't reschedule, and you've already signed a contract and paid for their tickets. And
it really is. It's crazy. And and of course you want your actors to be paid and fed, and there's just so many things that is involved with it. And that's why this Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign is going to be so much better to why we need people to donate, and so their actors can be fed, the celebrities and the stars and the behind the scenes, and just so you can have amazing special effects. Because imagine having a horror movie and the effects are bad. I've been a part of that. I created that and it wasn't good.
Well, I will say that if you don't have an effects budget, blood fixes everything. It'll cover all if you have enough of it.
And I will say Sammy is really good at making effects out of anything. That's good. So if there's anything that ever needs done or something like that in a movie,
I can fill in.
He can fill in if somebody can't do it, because he's like got so good, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But we have Joshua Adkins and Travis Robinson. They're really amazing.
Oh gosh,
excellent with all the real stuff. The silicone cast and everything. It's pretty amazing what they do for very little money.
Right. So for anybody that might be skeptical to donate to this Indiegogo campaign, do you have any advice for them on why they shouldn't be that skeptical? Why should they donate? Why should they trust you?
Well, if you're going to donate to a film, I will say this is an original film. It's not part of a previous franchise that we don't have rights to make. It is actually going to actors that are, you know, if you want to see these actors again on the screen that you haven't seen in forever, I mean, that's something to trust right there.
Yeah.
And again, if you need advice on why to trust us, we got the first one done, and you can buy the. I mean, if you've contributed to the first campaign, you've got the Blu-ray by now or the DVD, and you can see for yourself that we spent what we said we were going to say and more. You know, I know that we, you know, as producers, we put a lot of our own money into. I edited for free for 6 months. That's just part of it. You know, that would have cost like 15 grand if you were paying somebody. But I loved, you know, the movie and the idea, and I wanted to make sure it got done, and that's a part of it, you know. So that's we put our stuff on the line. If we see that the movie is worth it, we put our stuff on the line, and sometimes our life on hold.
So we can get it done.
I'm here to tell you, you can trust us with that. And,
absolutely.
He's dedicated. He's very dedicated, and I'm dedicated. But I mean, I'm dedicated, but he's really dedicated to the point where he'll do whatever it takes to get that movie done and out there. If it's filmed, he'll do everything. And soundtrack is so amazing for one. I can't wait to see what he does for this second one. Oh my. It is like hardcore.
Can we buy a piano for me to actually smash to get the sound?
Well,
maybe a little homage to Black Christmas, the original there, where they use the piano smashing for the soundtrack. I think we can actually find a free one probably.
Somebody's getting
nice. Yeah, and that's another thing a lot of people take for granted. The music really does make or break a movie. It really does. It's an important part of the film and of the filmmaking process.
He worked really hard on making the soundtrack so that it would make all of the scenes so like different to where they'd be more dramatic and more crazy, even though they already was.
Yeah.
And
something I was able to do with the first movie that I hadn't actually done before. You know how composers all the time talk about how characters have specific themes. There was actually themes for characters in this film, so you'll notice when certain people are on screen, you'll hear kind of in the way that Halloween does things with Laurie. You know, Laurie's theme. In this way,
Riley has a theme, and it's cool.
Nice. That's actually really awesome.
It plays through, and it has variations as the movie goes, and I had a lot of fun doing that.
Nice. So I know you said you didn't really see much of the script. You only seen like an early draft. This might be more of a Hayden question, but I'll still ask it. What can people expect from Reunion from Hell 2 that they hadn't seen in Reunion from Hell, the first one?
Blood and more crazy deaths and more gore and more because we did kind of talk with some of the deaths with Hayden. He has and I have a little bit, and some of and just more creepy stuff, more intensely creepy to where it's going to be like, when you watch it than before, even though before you kind of felt that way with one.
I could speak a lot about the look. In a lot of ways, with the first Reunion, we shot things in ways. Some things were very bright, sometimes very, it's still scary looking, a lot of moody lighting and stuff, but we've done a lot of experimenting and growth with everything lately in the last year. And Reunion 2, the look, even though it's bright Christmas lights and stuff everywhere, it is very much, it's just a lot more shadowy and dark. The whole look of it is just going to be a lot more expressive of damaged psyche. And even though it's not going to be the psychological trauma of the first one, it is going to be psychological, and I think more psychologically effective on the viewer.
I do too.
Absolutely. And one thing that really caught my eye with Reunion from Hell 2 is that the candy cane Reunion from Hell 2 logo. That really caught my eye. I thought that was really nicely done. I don't know. It brought out the horror aspect with the dark green, the dark red colors, which also brings out the holiday colors as well. And the candy cane, like it was really good. It was really well done. So what was the biggest challenge on making the first Reunion from Hell then?
Editing, getting, the post-production process. Editing is a labor of love, and when you're having to work on other things and you have another job to maintain and stuff like that, there was a 6 months. It was about a 6 month process to edit. As far as actually filming, we did have to go and get a couple pickup shots that we were able to get.
I kind of had a little bit of a stress, but yet it was a good stress because I got there and I was going to just do the boom and
that was
stuff. And I was so excited when Hayden asked me to be a part of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like ecstatic to be Jen, and I couldn't wait to be Jen. But at the same time, I was like, oh my gosh, now I've got to help make the movie and try to do these lines and figure out what my lines are. Yeah, which I knew I could do it, but at the same time, it was like, oh my gosh, you know, it was just so much at me. And I was like, I'll do this. And in between every time, which we worked from really early morning till real late at night, and I'd still be studying my lines. So it was kind of a challenge on me. But at the same time, I wouldn't ever take it back or change it for anything ever, because it was probably one of the most fun things I've ever done so far.
That part of it left me worrying about I was a one-man show on a lot of that. As far as behind the camera, I was doing, you know, the cinematography, the lighting, and the audio while she was on. Anytime she was on screen, I had to make sure the audio was taken care of.
Bless his heart.
Oh my goodness.
A lot of stuff, but I mean, it's just making sure that audio doesn't suck.
Right.
Like that. The audio is has good audio. It is a winner. But if it has bad audio and it looks amazing.
Yeah. You cut out for a little bit there at the end.
You've got an amazing picture.
Yeah.
Your movie's just it's going to tank. So that was a concern, but we tried to make sure we really were meticulous about handling that, and it worked out.
I can't wait to see this. I really can. Obviously I have to do my homework, because if I'm going to be the second one, I got to see the first one.
Well,
usually that's how it works.
Even with the first one, I think you're still going to be a little bit more abused and taxed in the second one.
I got my word from Hayden, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to come out. And speaking of Hayden, how did you guys end up meeting her? Like, and where, like, I guess, how did this friendship originally start? Because she's really a great person.
Well, it was kind of funny. They were looking for a cinematographer, I think, because they had kind of a last minute change. And actually, Dixie Gers referred me to Adam Freeman, and Adam Freeman was kind of, he had heard some of my soundtrack stuff, and Adam Freeman was producing on Arena from Hell, and liked our personality and kind of what we brought to things. So he suggested us to Hayden, and when we talked to Hayden and we showed some of our reels, some of our samples, that spoke for itself. Plus, we had to be competitive with price, but it's a film. I mean, it came down to us and a few other people, I think, and I think the deal breaker or the deal maker for us was just kind of how we were able to film gritty, rough, brutal things, and also get it lit well.
Yeah, and it's like as soon as we got on set, we just bonded right away. It's like we all just meant to have met each other or something, because we all just bonded right then. Me and Hayden bonded.
Yeah, well, as far as her getting cast as Jen, it helped that our reels and samples that we had. She was, she's always acting in stuff that we do, and she projects very well and does an amazing job.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So the last question I got for you both is basically just to promote the Hagwitch that is coming up. So tell us a little bit about the film, what's it about, what to expect, and all that fun stuff.
Well, the Hagwitch is about a grieving widow. She's been widowed for about 6 months, and as she continues to grieve, she begins to think that she's talking to her husband. She thinks that her husband is around her. She smells him. She hears him. Even thinks she sees him at times. But what she doesn't really realize is the more she pays attention to it, the more she calls out, the more it gives strength to an actual demon, witch kind of character. And from folklore, you've heard the character. I'm sure the old hag It's a demon that sits on your chest and basically sucks the life out of you while you're sleep. Sleep paralysis kind of
Right.
stuff. This movie's not about sleep paralysis. It's more about an actual demon. And eventually, as this thing goes, the closer she gets to promoting the strength of this being, she really destroys herself and her family. And the thing about Hagwitch is, that's another victim of funding. We've had to go a lot slower on that.
Yeah.
We didn't get the budget we needed, so we're having to change some key cast members, which we've already talked about that. It's taken care of, but it's also put off our shooting schedule because we had some pretty big locations lined out,
Right.
and that was supposed to be like 35 grand, and we ended up seeing like 8, and that when you've got one cast member costing 10,
Yeah. Exactly.
So we've had to change some things on that. But what I can say is that we have some other things coming up. You've got a really cool announcement coming out pretty soon, but you can kind of give a hint. What is it?
Let us know.
I've got locally, cast for a big feature film, and my stuff will come out later, but they haven't totally set it out yet for all of us getting announced yet. But it will be announced, and it's a big feature coming up, and
we're also working on we're involved in a secret project that we're not allowed to talk about. It is it's so violent that it's probably going to be banned in a lot of places, I think. It's really gnarly, and I think you're going to see some of that pop out in Reunion too, because we've been working a lot behind the scenes on the thing that we're not allowed to say anything about. A lot of that energy is going to come out in Reunion too, I think, and just
it's going to be really good though.
I can't wait.
Reunion too.
It's going to be gnarly, but we are staying very busy. It's just a lot of it, it's not big promotion stuff. We can't, the end product will speak for itself.
Yeah, we're staying busy. We just haven't really been able to say anything about it yet.
Right. Absolutely.
But when it comes out, you will love it.
That and Hagwitch have kind of switched places as far as what's pushing the other, and let's just say one is paying for the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It makes sense, and sometimes that has to happen based on not just priority, but financially, and just things kind of take precedence over other things, and they kind of have to come to the forefront.
Well, the Hagwitch is so near and dear to me. I've had a lot of grief in my life. It's so, and honestly, it was very connected to losing my mother and grief in that respect, because she passed away a couple months before I finished the script, and then I went back and rewrote it after experiencing what real grief is and trauma. I know you understand that.
And my dad just passed away back in August. Yep.
Everything you film after experiencing that kind of grief, everything you write is very different. So with that, the Hagwitch is really close, and I don't want to screw it up and make it stupid. I want to do it right. And people that contributed, had faith in the campaign and contributed, I don't want to throw their money away on something that's just crap. So,
we just wanted to save it and put everything later towards making it even better.
Yep. And sometimes if it takes, you could do a movie in 3 months, by filming it and everything and get it done. And then it's not done right. But you do a movie and you wait, even if it takes you 5 years, 6 years, and then you get it done, it's worth the wait when you see the finished product and be like, I'm proud that I did it, and I'm proud that I waited.
Hey, I've done movies where we've shot the entire thing in 10 days, and I've done movies where we shot the entire thing in 10 months.
Yeah.
Or, and then, got post-production after that. So it's, you have to read what the movie does. And one thing about indie film, if you're using a lot of local locations, you can really take your time and get it right. That way you're not rushed. But the thing about the Hagwitch is we have to have rented locations. We have to be on location, away from home. And I'm not going to compromise on that, because location is everything. When we've got, 50 grand in gear. Okay. We can take that and film whatever we want to around here, but it's not going to look like a grand mansion on a farm. It has to be the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, location is just like audio, can make or break a movie. The location can also make or break a movie. It's one thing if you're filming in a real, like, okay, here's an example. Halloween 5. That's supposed to be the Michael Myers house. Is that the Michael Myers house? He'd never lived in a mansion. You know what?
No. Well, I don't think anybody really. Well, Hayden likes Halloween 5, but
I like Halloween 5. It's not bad, but I mean, it's just like there were so many things that were wrong, and you could tell that they weren't done the script when they were working on the movie.
Hey, that happens with every project. Reunion from Hell, we had some
Yeah.
script rewrites and stuff on and
Yeah.
from different characters being involved. I mean, in removing characters, like things change. It's
Yeah.
just kind of how it goes, and that's indie filmmaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thank you guys for all that you do too, for like what you guys help out with Reading from Hell, the first one, what you're doing for the second one. I'm really excited to be involved with the second one. Back there, you see my mom and her best friend there walking by, and they're getting ready for tomorrow's Christmas Eve and everything. And they're the ones driving me down, and I'm paying for their hotel and everything. So I really have them to thank for the 9-hour drive.
Well,
we thank you.
Well,
we appreciate you.
I certainly hope you don't die naked.
We'll see.
I mean, being behind the camera, I just don't want to do that.
He's being so funny.
We'll see. And that's a Hayden call.
Whatever it is, it'll be horrible.
It'll be brutal, and it'll be bloody and gory, and it'll be the best thing ever. That'll be the first time I've ever done something like that. So that'll definitely be a scene that will require some acting. But it'll be worth it. Anything for this project, anything for you guys, anything for Hayden. Like I told Hayden and like I told Johnna earlier when we were texting, you guys are like a second family to me. We are an indie family, and yeah, and I really appreciate you guys for the opportunity, and I won't let you guys down. And I know you guys won't let the fans down that are, donating. And I guess we'll do one before we wrap this up. Let's do one more promotion just for anybody that wants to donate to Indiegogo. You can do so by checking out the Reunion from Hell 2 group page. Go on my page, my personal page. You can go on to John and Sam's pages. You can go on the Facebook fan page. There's so many places that you can check out this. You can just go to Indiegogo and type in Reading from Hell 2. Donate. And
remember, there's one more of these.
One more of those masks. One more of those masks. So donate, get that mask. And also know that if you cannot donate, because we do know that it is the Christmas season and everything. So if you can't donate, that is perfectly fine. But it doesn't cost a cent to share the page. So make sure even share the page, because that can spread the word of mouth, the old-fashioned word of mouth. So do whatever you possibly can to donate or share this out. You have 9 days to do so. And Sam, Johnna, I thank you so much. And I really look forward to meeting you both next month.
Oh, thank you. We can't wait to meet you.
Awesome. It's going to be so much fun. You guys have a great rest of your night. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You too,
Scotty. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.